So, got a few folks on the call. My name is Jesse Carajo. I'm the Senior Vice President for Community Impact Community Foundation. Joining me here, and I'll give them a chance to do a quick wave on the screen before we get started. Brandy Sanchez, our Senior Director of Community Investments. Can I say hi,
Hi,
Brandy?
hi everyone.
Then we have Jessica Seitz. She's our Director of Systems Alignment. Does a lot of our back end work with our Foundant, which is our grant system. Jessica, you want to say hi?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And one of the attendees was kind enough to provide the link that the QR code links to in the Q&A, so I put it in the chat for you.
All right. Thank you, Jessica.
Welcome.
And then we have one of the newer members of our team, Gia Silver. Gia, you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Gia. And then finally, Denise Boyle. Denise Boyle is our Associate Vice President for Philanthropy, and she has some information that she's going to share towards the end of the presentation about how we can engage and provide some other services outside of our grant-making opportunities. Denise, you want to say hi to everyone?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the work you do in our community.
Thank you, Denise. Okay. So another group that we have on the call, and I'm not going to take the time to have them all introduce themselves, but we have a number of members of our regional councils to help support our work in the community. In fact, many of you might have been invited to this call and invited to this opportunity through some members of our regional councils. But we actually have 4 regional councils. We have one, the Nature Coast Council, is up and serves our 3 northern counties in our footprint, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus County. We have our Pinellas Council, and then we have 2 councils here in Hillsborough County. We have the South Shore Council in the southern part of Hillsborough County. That's actually one of our oldest councils that we have. And then we have the Tampa Metro Area Council, which is actually one of our newer councils. As time goes, it serves the northern part of Hillsborough County. And these councils are made up of volunteers in the community that really help us with kind of the boots in the ground, help us stay connected to nonprofits that are in the community and help support us throughout our work. So for those regional council members on the call, I want to thank you for being here and thank you for all that you do to support the work of the Community Foundation and more importantly, support the work of the nonprofits in our community. So thank you, our regional council members. Next slide. So who we are, real quick there, you see we have our mission. Our mission is to build a vibrant, prosperous community through transformative vision, leadership, and philanthropy. And ultimately, we envision a thriving Tampa Bay community where every person has equitable access to opportunity and prosperity. And then those are our 3 core commitments. So these are our commitments to the community. We will stimulate strategic philanthropy. We'll do it both through us, through the Community Foundation, where we have almost 1,400 fund holders, as well as stimulating philanthropy with our partners and other philanthropists in the community. We will build community connectedness and trust through our processes, our transparentness, as well as our community collaboration work on things like Leap Tampa Bay, Thrive by 5, and Spark Pasco Hernando. And then finally, we'll ensure a dynamic, resilient future. We'll do that, making sure that there's strong fiscal health in the work that we do, and that we're building powerful systems that really make giving easy into the community. All right, next slide. So now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Brandy Sanchez, who's going to talk to us a little bit about our targeted focus areas. And that's really important as we start to talk about our funding, because everything needs to align to one of these 5 areas. So Brandy?
Thanks, Jesse. Hi, everyone. So the Community Foundation Tampa Bay has 5 focus areas that help us better concentrate our impact. These are economic opportunity, environmental resiliency and sustainability, physical health and mental well-being, quality child and youth education, and vibrant and engaged communities. And we're going to detail a little bit more about what do these mean to us. So before we jump in, I want to teach you how to read this screen. So we have our belief statement for each of these focus areas, our rationale of why we picked this focus area, and then we use our data, which we're going to talk a little bit more about using data in your letter of intents. We use the regional competitiveness metrics to help influence on why we are using this focus area as a way of directing funding. So our first, economic opportunity. The first focus area, which was founded with the belief that all residents of our counties should have access to high quality adult education and skill building. Having this type of training leads to employment and promotes personal and financial prosperity. So eligible programs in this focus area may include, but are not limited to, career readiness and employment, entrepreneurship, work-based learning experiences such as internships, apprenticeships, and on-the-job training, and post-secondary education. So that's economic opportunity. Our second is environmental resiliency and sustainability. So this focus area is founded with the belief that all residents live in a thriving environment that is resilient and sustainable for generations to come. So projects that focus on environmental education, improving green spaces, conservation, environmental resiliency and disaster recovery, environmental justice, protection of natural resources, land preservation, and communities disproportionately impacted by environmental factors. Those are a few projects that could relate to this focus area. The next focus area is physical health and mental well-being. Now, Community Foundation Tampa Bay believes that all residents should have access to resources that address their health and well-being, including basic needs such as food, shelter, safety, and mental health services. With a focus on physical health and mental well-being, this begins the pathway to bringing stability and prosperity to individuals. We understand how large of a focus area this is, so we created separate categories for this specific focus area last year. The separate categories for physical health and mental well-being are basic needs, mental health and trauma services, and health and wellness. So for basic needs, which projects that could fall under this are clothing and other essential needs, emergency and transitional housing, feeding programs, safety, security, legal services, and transportation assistance. Mental health and trauma services, which include projects such as mental health services, substance misuse rehabilitation, and trauma-informed care. And for health and wellness, projects such as community-based medical clinics, diagnostic screening, educational and awareness programs, and promoting healthy minds and bodies. So we saw this as a success last year, getting the projects for each of these separate categories for physical health and mental well-being to help align the funding a bit more. Our fourth focus area is quality child and youth education. So this focus area highlights our belief that children and youth have access to high quality, affordable, personalized learning opportunities from birth through high school. So some projects that might fit into this are career exploration, child and youth development, digital inclusion and digital literacy, early literacy programs, kindergarten readiness, and social emotional learning. Great. And then our final focus area is vibrant and engaged communities. So the focus area highlights Community Foundation's belief that there should be inclusive programming for residents to enjoy, thrive, engage, and work. So projects that may fit in this focus area are art programming for low-income communities, access to arts and culture for those with disabilities, development of community art, facilitating community collaborations and conversations, creating community spaces, including gardens and parks, and arts and culture projects that address complex social issues. So that's a little bit more on our focus areas. So now I want to talk about how we prioritize our awarding. So please note that these are requirements, and they are in glimpse into the aspects we are looking across opportunities. So these are vulnerable populations, collaboration, best practices, sustained impact, and quantified impact. So when you're writing your LOI, our tip is to review these priorities and see how your project relates to these priorities. We detailed these out on our website, and as you can see on the screen here, and so Our LOI and our application really asks you to describe how you are impacting each of these areas. How are you impacting a vulnerable population? Who are you collaborating with? And what best practices are you using? So we highly recommend that you look at this as you are writing your LOI. So moving into annual competitive grants, why we're all here today. All right. So the intent of the competitive grants is for us to learn, invest, and fulfill donor intent. So we want to learn more about your nonprofits and the great work that you're doing in the community. When and if awarded, an investment is made to the community you are serving, and we create a partnership for your intended goals. And then our investment cannot be made possible without our donors who passionately give with their individual intent. So the competitive grant process creates a way for learning and sharing needs in the community with actionable impact. So on the screen, you will see the timeline for the competitive grants. Now, I will say, a lot of these dates are also on our website. So you don't have to screenshot here or anything. I highly recommend that you go to our website, okay? But in this timeline, we showcase major dates such as the information session you're attending now, which great, the LOI due date, all right? And if you're invited to apply, the application due date and award decision date. So these dates guide our process and provide a look into our review process. So there are minor changes from the previous cycle that we want to update you on. So the first is return to a two-phase process, an LOI, letter of intent, and an application phase. So last year, as you know, as a result of Hurricane Helene and Milton, last year we did a one-phase application for our annual competitive grants. We are going back to the two-phase process that we typically do. Next, we will have a question regarding collaborating partners in the LOI. So we're going to be asking you just to name who your partners will be, because you will be required to upload a letter of collaboration in the application if you're invited back for an application. Letter of intents are due in January following the winter holidays. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the use of AI. Jesse's going to talk us through that a little bit later in this information. And we have some guidance provided for you for that. Also, we want to remind you of resources that we do offer, such as if you go to our website, I'm going to keep plugging that. The letter of intent is available as a Word document and a PDF for you to start practicing and preparing for the LOI being submitted in our grants portal. We have data resources listed on our website, so make sure you look at that because we love to see data attached to your project that relates to the community you're serving. This webinar recording, which will be posted to our website. The FAQs on our website, please make sure you read those. Again, go to our website. There's so much information on there. And there's also, if you look on our website, there is past funded requests. You can see what we have funded in the past, and it's a really great way to see the type of projects that will get funded. So now I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Kia, who will detail eligibility.
Thank you, Brandy. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be discussing our eligibility requirements. So to be eligible to receive an award for our competitive grants process, your organization must fit all the criteria that is on the screen. So you must be tax exempt under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code, as well as up to date with Internal Revenue Service 990 tax form filings, and have filed for at least one fiscal year. Your organization must be serving in Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Hernando, or Citrus counties, so serving one of those counties, and is able to apply under the organization's own tax-exempt EIN. And lastly, you must be in compliance with all of the requirements of previous funds awarded through Community Foundation Tampa Bay, including reporting requirements. Now on to accessing the grants portal. So once you've familiarized yourself with all the wonderful information that Brandy plugged that's on our website, you are now ready to submit your letter of intent. Your organization must have an account within our grant portal. You can sign in and create your account by accessing our portal on our website, Community Foundation Tampa Bay's website, and there's a few different ways to do it. So the first way you can access our portal is clicking the grants portal on the top right of any page of our website, as you can see in the purple writing that is circled. A second way is from our annual competitive grants information page. So you've read all the wonderful information that we have on there, and if you keep scrolling down, you will see the Get Started and Apply Now that is also circled on the screen. That will take you to our portal as well. And then lastly, you can see at the bottom of this slide, the URL is on the screen, and it can be bookmarked in your web browser for easy access. If your organization already has an account in the portal and you need access to the account, please feel free to email me, and you can find my email address on the login page. And just a reminder that although we do provide Word and PDF versions of the application on our website, your LOIs must be submitted through the online grant portal in order to be considered within our grant process. So now I will pass it to Jessica so she can highlight a few changes that have made to the applicant dashboard.
Hi, everybody. So those of you that have been using our online grants portal for a while now have probably noticed that back in August, there were some changes that occurred with the applicant dashboard. These changes were initiated by the software vendor, and they were designed to help you track your requests and your reporting requirements more easily. So hopefully it's working in that way. So let's go over what this applicant dashboard looks like. There's two main sections. The section on the left is called the to-do panel, and the section on the right is called the request panel. So on the left side with the to-do panel, there's two tabs. There's an assigned to you tab, and this is going to contain any forms that are assigned to you, any reports that are assigned to you, any applications that you've started and not yet completed that you need to submit, or any reports that you've started and not yet completed that you need to submit, or maybe you haven't started it yet, you just need to submit it. The upcoming tab will show you reports that you have due in the future, but that you can't submit yet. And most often you'll see this if you have been selected for a grant and you have both a grant acceptance agreement due as well as a report. You're not going to be able to submit that report until you've completed the grant acceptance agreement. And you'll also see this if you have a multi-year grant with annual reporting requirements that you won't be able to submit year 3 until you've submitted year 1 and year 2. So you'll see those in the upcoming section. Also, you'll see the See Opportunities button at the top right of the to-do panel. That will take you to our apply page, the same as the menu option on the purple bar, apply. And that will show you all of the grant opportunities that are currently open and accepting applications. In the request section, there's 3 columns. First is action needed, and this is basically the same things that you're going to see in the to-do panel and the assigned to you section. These are things that you need to, forms that you need to complete and submit. The no action section is for, this could be you've submitted a request and it's being processed by the administrators at this time, so there's nothing for you to do now. It's kind of in a holding pattern. The last column has completed and historical requests. Completed are those where you've submitted a form and we've marked it as complete. Historical means that the request has actually been closed or it has been denied or abandoned. So this is your new applicant dashboard. You still have the organization history up at the top so that you can view all of the requests that your organization submitted in the past. And then of course on the upper right-hand side, fictitious Joan Edwards, if you click the drop-down arrow next to your name, you'll see some options to update your profile or your organization. All right, so that's the new applicant dashboard. All right, FAQs. As Brandy highly encouraged you to go to our website and view the FAQs, I'm going to do the same. You can go to www.cftampabay.org/grants and select the competitive grant process. Click the Learn More button. Scroll down the page. There's all kinds of great information there. And at the very bottom of that page are the FAQs. And we've added some new ones just today so that we can, better answer some more of your questions. We often see questions about whether you have to apply under your own EIN or if you can have a fiscal sponsor. We do require that your organization has been designated as a 501c3 charitable organization by the IRS and that you're applying under your own EIN with that status. We also require that your organization has submitted at least one Form 990 in its formation. So if you're a newer organization, we do want you to have at least submitted one Form 990 so far to where we can go to the IRS website and pull that information down if we need to. A big question that we get is, what is the average award amount and what is the award range? So the average award amount for our last competitive grant cycle was $28,700. In the award range, we had grants anywhere from $5,000 up to $55,000. So keep that in mind when you're filling out the amount requested section. If you're going to put in a request for $100,000, it's probably not going to get very far. All right, service areas. Gia touched on this a little bit when discussing the eligibility requirements, that your organization must be serving Citrus, Hernando, Hillsborough, Pasco, and or Pinellas counties in order to be considered for a grant. So you might be headquartered elsewhere. Maybe you're headquartered in another state or in another county. That's fine as long as you are serving at least one of our 5 counties. All right, a big question. What does the Community Foundation not fund through the competitive grant process? So we don't like to fund building renovations, academic scholarships. We don't fund medical or scientific research, and we do not fund religious or political initiatives. So please do go to our website and review the full list of those things that we do not fund. A question that we often get is related to salary support. If your project needs a new person to help execute it, we are not opposed to helping fund the salary for that person. And keep in mind, this role must be tied to the project and must have a good impact. So be prepared to share data and impact around why this role is needed and the impact that it will make. Number served is also a big question. We ask you on the letter of intent form to give us an idea of how many individuals your project will serve. So keep in mind, this is an estimate. We don't expect that you know the exact number of people that your project is going to reach, but we do expect that you've done some research. You have an idea of who you're targeting and what those numbers might look like. And so on the LOI, all we ask for is just one number. How many people do you think you're going to serve? And then lastly, this isn't a frequently asked question yet, but we do want to provide you guys with some guidance on the use of AI in your applications and reports. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Jesse to share some information about that with us.
Thank you, Jessica. And we're excited this year because we're not only allowing the use of AI in our process in terms of applications, LOIs, and full applications, we're actually encouraging the use of AI. We think especially for our medium-sized or smaller-sized nonprofits, we think the use of AI in your grant process is a game changer. So we're encouraging it. At the end of the day, and you'll see on the next slide, we really emphasize this. We're going to put some suggestions here on how you might leverage and maximize the use of AI in your process. But at the end of the day, what you produce is your product. And so you're responsible for all the information. And we strongly encourage any use of AI ends with you going through in detail what's being provided and making sure that it fits what you're trying to provide in terms of the application. So let me start with some good uses of AI. It's a great brainstorming ideas tool. You can use it to spark program descriptions, redefine goals, generate outlines, real powerful in that sense. And, there's a lot of tools out there. The ones we begin to use more here at the Community Foundation include ChatGPT Team, as well as Copilot. Research support, it can help identify key statistics, best practices, content. It does that very quickly. But again, you're responsible for what it produces. So you need to realize it's just a tool in your toolkit, and you need to go back and especially verify any numbers, information that it provides, and especially references. Summarizing content, it's really good at summarizing existing content. So you may already have some material from brochures, websites. You can point AI to it, and it'll build language from what you have in existing rather than you have to rewrite everything. Again, you're responsible for the end content. It's great at editing content. I especially like to use it for reviewing and recommendations in terms of changes in writing, but it can especially help when it comes to character limits, word counts, looking for grammar, tone. It's very powerful in that sense. Improving clarity. It can help simplify jargon. It can improve readability, identify unclear passages, and suggest improvements. And then finally, supporting materials. It can quickly generate frameworks that you might consider for budgets, timelines, evaluation plans. And then once it produces those kind of draws, you can go back to that and make modifications to meet your specific needs. Next slide, please. So AI may be used to support a completion of LOIs, full applications, impact reports. I think it's a great tool to use, and it is a powerful time saver. It can be used to generate text, proofread, summarize data, organize content. But at the end of the day, applicants are responsible for ensuring all AI-assisted content is accurate and reflects the organization's actual work and capabilities. It must not, you have to be careful. There's something in AI called hallucinations, where it generates stuff that when you go and verify may not be as accurate as you were intended. So you have to be careful that it's not fabricating or altering data in terms of outcome stories, organizational history. At the end of the day, it's a great tool to have in your toolkit, but all submitted information, whether it's an LOI, full application, impact report, must be verified in detail. It must be accurate, and you really need to go through and make sure that it's producing the information that you intend to produce, and all data and summaries and research is checked and verified before it's submitted. So very excited about the use of AI this year. And again, strongly encourage it as long as you're verifying the information. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Brandy. Brandy?
Thanks, Jesse. All right, so we're going to discuss a few tips when writing your letter of intent. And before I begin, I want to remind everyone, you keep hearing us say project, project, project. That's because the annual competitive grants process is meant to fund projects, right? Not just general operating expenses, projects. And so I want you to keep that in mind while you're, deciding what am I going to submit to this that relates to those focus areas, and I can meet all the priorities. Right? Really be intentional about what you're selecting to apply with. So as you write your letter of intent, that was one tip. My second tip for you is to use data to explain why what you are doing is needed in the geographical area that the grant would support. We are a community foundation, which means that we want to support our community. And so if you have a certain project, try to find data within that county that supports what you're trying to say. And as a reminder, we serve the 5 counties of Citrus, Hernando, Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas. Use the space provided. So there is a character count for a reason, and we want to know as much as we can about what you are proposing. Answer our questions for us. Speaking of questions, fully answer the questions too. If the question has bullet points, answer each one, because we are reviewing each question that is being asked. And make sure you're reading all the questions in full and answer what we're asking. In the do not column, do not assume that reviewers know everything about your organization. So my best tip on this is tell me what I need to know from your organization. That way I do not have to do extra research. We are reviewing hundreds and hundreds of applications. I want you to tell me what has changed about your organization, what's the most up-to-date mission, and how does your proposed project relate to your mission, our priorities, and our focus areas. The second tip, do not wait until the last minute to ask questions. We are hosting these information sessions a month ahead of the letter of intent due date for a reason. So ask questions now and do not be shy to email me any questions you have. All right. And then my last tip for you is do not wait until the last minute to access your account within the online grant portal. So a tip, let this be the first action after this information session. Take the time to see if your organization has the access. Find your password and sign in to ensure you can fill out that letter of intent. Great. So another tip, that wasn't my last tip actually, this is my last tip, is supporting the project with your data. All right, so we are so lucky to have great data resources like the ones presented on your screen for your organization to use. So these are links to these data resources that are also on the website. So we have the State of the Regional Competitiveness Report. So each year, the Tampa Bay Partnership, along with Community Foundation Tampa Bay and United Way Suncoast, work together to measure our performance and check how we're doing against 19 peer communities and the country. So you saw this data as we were reviewing each of those focus areas. I recommend that you go read this report and see how the data relates to your project. The Florida Chamber of Commerce, so they have the Florida Scorecard, which gives stakeholders the power to measure progress on a statewide level and within your own community. So check that one out. The United Way Alice Report provides a framework, language, stats, and tools that community stakeholders can use to inform policy and drive innovation. Great tool, great data there. The Florida's Early Childhood Data Hub. So this is a early learning roadmap that kind of acknowledges that we need more and increased investment in to support Florida's children's families and the economy. So go there and look at the data that they're presenting that could then relate to your project. So these are just a few of the data resources that we have in one space for you on our website. So ensure that you check that out and that you use this in your LOI. All right. And then other opportunities. So also on our website, and I promise that'll be the last time I say that, is we have these other grant opportunities such as the Critical Needs List, our Love for Lawrence, and the Smith and Associates Foundation grant opportunities. So each of these have different deadlines and opportunities. So I highly recommend you go to our website and check it out and review them and see how your organization can relate to those grant opportunities. Additionally, we have Mental Health First Aid, which is a resource open to all nonprofits in our 5-county area that we've discussed that can receive mental health training for their staff. So if you know that your organization needs a little bit more of that mental health training for your staff, please check in at our Mental First Aid website and see that resource and then training that you can receive. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. And then who to ask for questions. So for application questions, feel free to email me. My email is on the screen right here. I know most of you have it. I'm so grateful I get to talk to you all the time. But as a reminder, and if you are new to this information session, please use me as your first point of contact here at the foundation. I'm really excited to get to know you all. And then for our grant portal assistance, you met Gia earlier, and she talked a little bit more about how to get into the grant portal. She is going to be your direct contact for that. So now I want to give this over to our Associate Vice President of Philanthropy, Deneve, to talk to you a little bit more about other services that we can offer to you as a nonprofit.
Thank you so much, Brandy. I appreciate everything you've shared with the nonprofits on the webinar today. I really want to emphasize, Brandy, I know you kept saying our website, but she can't say it enough. We have over 20,000 nonprofits within our service area, and we can't speak to all of you every day, but our website can. And so there are resources upon resources, not only from the grant making side of the house, but also from the capacity building and fund investment side of the house. So I'm here today to talk a little bit more about our value add. And so at the Community Foundation, we add value in many different ways. So on the next slide, it talks a little bit about getting like-minded philanthropists together. as Jesse shared earlier in our vision and our mission and our pillars, our goal is to spark strategic philanthropy in the community to make the best impact possible per the donor's intentions. And so several times throughout the years, we bring like-minded fund holders and donors together to talk about the needs and opportunities within our community. And more on a one-to-one basis, we then work with the families, individuals, families, and companies throughout the community to understand what their intentions are, what their personal giving should look like and as they want it to look like. So we do a lot of family planning. We do a lot of conversations around the impact they would like to have. And we bring the two together of saying, what are their values? And then if they had a magic wand, what would they want to fix? And so we help to align their giving. I always like to say we like to inspire and educate others. And we do this through our power of influence, our power of knowledge. By you all putting these applications in, we're able to share your needs and your opportunities on an ongoing basis with our fund holders and other donors throughout the community. And then we advise on co-funding opportunities. This is kind of my favorite thing because we get to play matchmaker. So we take your needs and your opportunities and we work day in and day out next to different donors, different private foundations and community, other funder foundations out in the community to do this co-funding. So we give a little and they give a little hand in hand. So it works really, really well. And so if you hear a no or a not now from this process, this competitive grant process, please know that we on the philanthropy side of the house are continually working with our community impact team on getting your needs and your opportunities out into the community in a variety of different ways. And that's because this is what we like to do. We call it matchmaking, but it's really finding that ways that we connect the donors to the causes they can care about. So it's those donor connections, again, bringing the values and the intentions of those donors and aligning it with the needs and opportunities of the community. We like to say that we make giving easy. So here at the Community Foundation, we have a variety of different giving tools, and that can range from a donor advised fund that is like a charitable giving account. The donor puts the money in, and over time, they get to decide who gets it, how much, and when. So we really take the timing out of the giving. And so if somebody has a big liquidation event, they can give through us out to their favorite organizations. And we do that in several different ways with fields of interest, legacy funds, and permanent endowments. Again, all these funds come to the Community Foundation on the behalf of our nonprofit needs and opportunities. And as you probably, next slide, please. And as you probably know, your donors at your individual nonprofits have all different types of level of control. And so we've got different funds here at the Community Foundation that can relate to that level of control. So a donor advised fund, again, supreme flexibility. They want to be able to say when the grants are going, who they're going to, and how much they're going to, all the way over to our field of interest. So if somebody wanted to help support youth development in Pinellas County or arts and culture in Citrus County, we would be able to help align their gifts. So they take out the actual control of who gets it, but they get to say, you know, we're really passionate about these causes, but we're not sure what's going to happen in the next 20 to 50 years. And that's where this wonderful community impact team comes into play. So the other way that we really come in is we lean into your nonprofit capacity building. And so we are able to be an extension of your team. So when it comes time for new donors and coming into the community or new fund holders who are trying to learn more, bring the next generation into play, we're able to walk alongside them and help to inspire and educate them on the needs and opportunities of our community. And so we also become an extension of your team when you guys start to have complex assets come in to your organizations. So things along the lines of stock, cryptocurrency, real estate, other types of assets that come to you all and you guys might not be able to accept other than just cash or even stock. So we will be able to walk alongside you. We have a lot of organizations create reserve funds with the Community Foundation. This is where you put the money in and then you can take the money out, but we can help you liquidate any of these types of assets put it into the fund, and then use it in the future for your mission and however you need to use it. So again, non-cash gifts, we become an extension of your team. We walk alongside you to accept these gifts. And then finally, we've got a really amazing staff. In a future slide, you'll see all the different staff members we have, but we help with your legacy planning. This is what we do day in and day out. When donors come to you and say, hey, we want to be able to help sustain your organization for the long term, we come in and we're able to have our staff come and speak as guest speakers. We're able to help review and take a look at what does a complete plan look like for your fund holders. We know by experience, most of our fund holders name 3 to 4 to 5 different organizations within their legacy plans. So your organization won't be the only one they're listing. There will be others. And so we can work as a team to fulfill this all together. And then finally, we do hold funds here at the Community Foundation for your investments on a reserve fund and an endowment. So a reserve fund is where you put dollars in and you can take them out whenever you'd like. An endowment is a permanent vehicle that allows for a distribution to come back to your organization for your sustainability and longevity. And then we do have this wonderful matching program. So for every $100,000 that's coming into an endowment, we're matching it at $25,000. There are a few matches left this year, but the bucket we will refill come January 1st. We will have 10 more matches. So again, every $100,000, first 10 $100,000 gifts get matched at $25,000. And then our charitable gift annuities. So if you do have a donor who wants to have ongoing income coming back to them, but also have some type of charitable inclination, this is a great opportunity to put money in, have revenue coming back as a donor, but then having the intent at the very end, whatever the remainderment is going back to your organization in an endowment form at the Community Foundation. And here's our wonderful team. We're here to help support you in any way, shape, or form. Please do give us a call. Thank you very much for everything you all do. And so finally, I will hand it back to Brandy for any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deneve. I really appreciate you taking time to talk more about all the different ways to get involved with Community Foundation Tampa Bay. All right. So that is most of our presentation here. We want to allow some time to answer any questions and answers or any questions that you have regarding our process and what we presented today. So I'm going to toss it over to Jesse. Jesse, were there any questions that we want to talk about?
Sure. And there's time now to put some in. So I see some are starting to come up in the thing as well. Let's see. I'm going to start at kind of going through the list. Is there a preference between quantitative and qualitative data, or is it a healthy combination of the two, as it depends and or helps define the need? Of course, I consider myself a data person. And I think you need both forms. You need kind of a mixed methods approach. So I've certainly encouraged both quantitative and qualitative data when you're supporting what you're doing there. So next question: if we have collaborative letters given to us in the past, and we are still collaborating with that organization, do we need to get an updated letter for the LOI, or can we use current one and update if invited to submit? The hard thing with the reviewers, and keep in mind, at the Community Foundation, each one that makes it through the final application process has 50 different reviewers. So we're not the type of organization that's going to have 2 people in a room who are just going through the application, deciding, what to fund and what not to. We have an elaborate, detailed, holistic rubric process on the back end. We're showing you the 5 areas of criteria, the alignment to the focus areas. So I think you want to put the very best foot forward in terms of your process. And I think, if you can get that updated collaboration letter, I think that's a good idea. Because it shows that you have an active partnership, right, with that organization.
I just wanted to add a little bit to that question, if I could.
Sure.
So at the LOI phase, we're not actually asking for your letters, but we are asking for you to indicate on the form who your collaborating partners are. And then you have another month, if you are selected, to complete a full application to obtain those letters.
That is correct. And you want those to be as up to date as possible. Can a nonprofit 501c3 organization be a fiscal sponsor for a community-based program? We do not do fiscal sponsorships, and we probably need more information about what your question is specifically. If you're going to be a backbone organization for community collaboration, that would fit within our community vibrancy focus area, but there are nuances about it. So we don't do we're not doing a traditional fiscal sponsorship where a small nonprofit goes to a larger nonprofit and the larger nonprofit becomes the fiscal responsible. But if it's in the case of a community group and there's a backbone organization, but it's being applied for under the 501c3 EIN status of the existing organization, and they are going to be the backbone and essentially help operate and administer the project, that would be an exception. Can we submit multiple LOIs for different focus areas? On this question, and it's came up a couple different times in the questions, it's a highly competitive process. And we, as we probably mentioned earlier, about 1 in 5 ultimately gets funded. So it's highly competitive. And why we don't prohibit someone from applying in multiple focus areas, you want to be really careful and you truly want to put your best project forward. It's not a shotgun approach really doesn't work here. And you don't want to have 2 really good projects that end up competing against themselves and get knocked out of the process. So, we have had organizations, do 1 or 2 applications before in different areas. Certainly would never recommend it in the same focus area. We've had them do it in different focus areas. But keep in mind, at the end of the day, you really want to put your best foot forward. We only do annual fund. I'm going to go to the next question and then did somebody have something to add to that? Jessica
I just wanted to add something about the focus areas. And that's if you have a project, you're like, I don't know if this fits under this focus area. It might fit under another one. Make sure that you're trying to align it as best as possible to your project. And, if we as reviewers see that, we're like, oh, actually, we think that fits under this focus area. You'll be getting a call from me saying, hey, are you okay if we switch this over? So don't get so hung up on which focus area. If you think it fits through maybe 1 or 2 of them, pick the one that most aligns and we'll talk if not. Sorry, Jesse, keep going.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. In fact, Brandy and myself, while we do have, like I said, up to 50 reviewers, there's a few of us, including Brandy and myself, that'll look at every single one, and we'll ensure if we believe you should fit better in another focus area, we'll make that point. So you don't get immediately disqualified if your alignment's better in one versus another. We'll get back with you on that. Is a 2-year fund request okay? We only do annual fund requests here. So this is a single year for this annual competitive grants process.
All right, we have a few questions around collaboration. Let's go through those. The first one is because of for the collaboration question, will it be required for the specific program, or do we need to provide a general letter from partners we work with?
Yeah, that's a great question. You need to be providing the collaborators that you're working on for your specific project that you are applying with. We know that, and we're grateful that everyone works together, right? And that's the hope. That's what we want. But if this is a project-based competitive grant process. We are reviewing the project to make sure everything is related to the project, as well as the collaborators that are also on the project.
And then we have one, what details need to be included in the letters of collaboration?
Yeah, I think that there are pretty standard, typical letters of collaboration, but what we're looking for is the commitment from both organizations. What are you, or from more than, even 2 or 3 organizations, what are you bringing to the table for this project to work? Right? What does that collaboration look like? What is the timelines? What are the commitments to each other? And what does that mean for you? What does a letter of a collaboration mean for you? But for us, it's detailing your partnership and why you're doing it.
Okay. And then is for the letter of collaboration, is that monetary or another type of support?
That's a really great question. I would say both. I think if you are putting your name to it and you are deciding to be a partner with someone on a project, I think that there has to be a letter of collaboration for this project or for this process because we want to again know how your organizations are coming together to fulfill the project's outcomes that you're putting on the application.
And then can you provide a couple of examples of collaborations, good, healthy collaborations between nonprofit organizations? Do you have any in your back pocket?
Any in my back
Maybe,
pocket?
maybe Jesse has some ideas.
I mean, a great example is an after-school program in a school district. I think that what gets missed in the collaboration piece is that you don't realize how many organizations you're actually collaborating. Like I've rarely ever seen a project that's come to us for funding that there weren't multiple organizations involved on. So it would be very rare, and it's hard for me to even think of one in that context. But most organizations that are doing projects are actually working alongside other organizations. And we really believe in the old adage, the old African adage, that it takes a village. You know, I don't believe any one person or one organization is truly going to move the needle on some of these complex social issues in our community. And it does take collaboration to go. But sometimes you have to kind of step back from what you're doing and say, who am I actually working with in this? And you realize there are nonprofit partners and for-profit partners and others that you're having to work side by side to get your project accomplished. And it doesn't necessarily have to always be a monetary connection. It could be in kind between multiple organizations.
I was also going to plug our website again because we have our past awarded organizations that do detail the collaboration, right? And so go look at those organizations, go see what the project is, go learn more about it, and see how these organizations are collaborating with each other. This is a review criteria. It's always been a review criteria. So if you've ever done a feedback call for us, maybe because you weren't awarded in the past year, it was potentially because there was no collaborators listed. So we highly value this part of our process and our priorities.
If you do have multiple collaborators, we would like to see multiple letters, one from each collaborator. If you guys are all partnering in the same way, you know, the letter might look similar with each partner, and that's okay. We are not looking for MOUs though.
Jessica, if I could just answer a couple of these, I want to make sure we try to get through all of these, and we only got a couple minutes left. But there's a couple here that I saw that are relate to basic needs. There was one I saw in housing. There was one I saw in feeding. That clearly fits in the basic needs area. And we've even broken that into the multiple subsections. So in my mind, you know, housing and feeding and clothing and transportation all fit in basic needs.
Okay. If we've been funded in the past, would you prefer that we apply for something new or keep it the same?
I would say it depends on the nonprofit. If your best foot forward is what you've done and you have good outcomes to show what's been accomplished in the past year or the past few years, and that's your best proposal, I would go forward with that. If you have a new project that you're excited about and you have a real stated need and some solid outcomes you're accomplished, then I might do that one. But I don't think we have a limit to one versus another.
Well, we are on time, and I'm going to plug it again. There's a lot of questions here. We have an updated FAQ, so make sure you go check that out, everyone, on our website. And, again, you have us as your resources, too. So we're really grateful for you taking the lunch hour to meet with us and learn and potentially apply to this competitive grant process. So thank you again for all that you do for these communities. We are so grateful for everything, and we hope that you have a restful week. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for all that you do. We appreciate it.
Good luck.